Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be dedicated to one of my absolute favorite topics in makeup, and that is makeup brushes. I love buying brushes, I love talking about them, and I have done quite a lot of videos on my channel about Zoeva brushes. And I remain faithful to Zoeva brushes, but I've kind of been exploring a little bit and trying to find whether I can substitute the Zoeva brushes with something made of synthetic hair, just because, you know, synthetic hair is definitely cruelty-free, and I've also gotten the feeling in the past few years that Zoeva have quite increased their prices. And of course, natural bristles hair, yeah, over a few years they tend to become a little bit stiffer, a little bit harder, and not as nice to work with anymore. So I figured, let's just try something else. And I accidentally came across a brand called Spectrum Collections a couple of months ago when I was browsing through Beauty Bay. So the first batch of Spectrum brushes that I ever bought was from Beauty Bay. Unfortunately, in the meantime, they have kind of stopped offering this brand, because this last time I was there I only saw like 2 or 3 brushes left, which is a little bit unfortunate, because the advantage of ordering from Beauty Bay would be that you don't really have to pay that much shipping, if at all. So I'm kind of going to start with the face brushes, and I'm going to continue to the eye brushes. So the very first set of brushes that I bought actually came in a set of 4, and I only have 3 of those because I sent the 4th one to a friend of mine. So I'm just going to talk about the 3 that I have. The first one over here is the Spectrum... Oh, before I start talking about the actual brushes, brush by brush, let's just talk about how beautiful these brushes are. Look at them. They have gorgeous pink handles, and like really sturdy handles at that. They don't feel cheap in any way, and the bristles go from teal to purple. If you go on their website, they also have like a greenish, pinkish brushes, and a set with, I think, white brushes. And then we're also going to talk about the cherry on the cake, which is this gorgeous thing over here, which looks like a freaking rainbow. But let's just start one by one. Yes, the brushes look beautiful, they feel very well made, and for how they feel, I think they're not too pricey. So the first set that I bought was something in the range of, I want to say, 25 to 30 euros, and it had, like I said, 4 face brushes. And let's go back to the brush that I was holding originally, which is the Spectrum Co3 brush, which looks like this. And it is basically like a tapered face brush. Just for reference purposes, this is how it looks like. I bought this brush, well, I used this brush for a while to apply my powder, so just dust powder on your face, and it fits very nicely in the nooks and crannies of your face because of the little taper thing over here. This is a very nice brush. I don't really use it at the moment just because I prefer to apply my powder with the Beauty Blend, well, my Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, but you could use this brush very easily for dusting powder all over your face, and I guess for other things, but I've never really tried it for anything else. Then we continue on with the Spectrum Co4, which looks like this. It's kind of an angled fluffy brush, and what I love using this brush for is for application of blush. I don't mind if brushes are really big to apply blush, because I just kind of dip in the blush and then I do a couple of times like this, and then a couple of swirly motions, and I'm done. This is a beautiful soft brush. If you like big blush brushes, then I think you're going to like this one. Then we move on to the Spectrum BO2. So this brush is more of a buffing type of brush. It has like the typical shape of a buffing dome brush, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be used for. You can use this to apply mineral foundation to buff it into your skin. You can apply cream products with this. I use it for blush and bronzer, and it works very nicely for that too. Then we continue on with one of my absolute favorite brushes from all the Spectrum brushes that I've ever bought, and I've spoken about this brush in the favorites videos. This is the Spectrum Ao8. It is like a smaller version of that first brush I talked about. You can see the difference in their size, and the similarity is you know, that domed shape over here. I love this brush for applying highlighter. You could use this to like set your under eyes. I don't really do that, but if I did, I would use this brush for that. I love it for applying highlighter. It picks up highlighter really well, and because you can like kind of pick it up here on the side or a little bit here on the tip, and then it fits very nicely right onto your cheekbones. I love that brush. Highly recommend. Okay, speaking of face brushes, I'm going to talk about the brush that I picked up recently with my very recent order. I ordered 2 weeks ago, and I got them last week. I ordered the Spectrum Co6 brush. This brush makes me happy just freaking looking at it. Look at it. It's so pretty. Now, first of all, just for reference purposes, this brush is ginormous. Look at it. It's a fan brush, and I do like fan brushes for application of highlighter. This is, I don't know, I feel like you could probably get away with using this to contour with, or bronze, or even dust powder or all over your face. I haven't tried it for any of those things. I've only used it ever for highlighting, and I do like it for this. I always feel like I'm brushing my face with unicorn hairs. It's amazing. I do like this brush a lot. However, I would say it's fairly on the expensive side. This is one of the more expensive brushes that I've come across on the Spectrum Collections website. It was, I think, originally £19, and I bought it in a 20% off discount. But I find this brush to be quite expensive, and you don't need this brush if you have your own type of fan brush, or you have the, what was it again, the Ao8 brush that I talked about previously. I don't know, this is kind of like a little luxury to spoil yourself with, just to look at it and make yourself happy, and you know, dust highlighter on your cheekbones with it, but it's not a necessity. It's a pretty brush, but it's not super functional because it's so huge, and it's absolutely not a brush that you absolutely need, but it's pretty. Okay, now I want to talk about the eye brushes, which I actually got in a set. I think this set retails on their website for, I want to say £27, and it includes 8 eye brushes. And I actually have one additional of the blending brushes because I bought backups of the blending brush. But these are the brushes that the original set comes with. I'm going to start with the biggest one here, which is the Spectrum Co6 brush. This is a brush that I hardly ever use. It's like this dome-shaped brush, and I assume it would be very nice to apply your concealer here under your eyes, or maybe to spot conceal even, but I personally don't use these kind of brushes for concealer anymore. I prefer to use my small Real Technique sponge, or just a Real Technique sponge, or a beauty blender, or just a sponge of any sort. So I don't really use this brush for pretty much anything at this point. I have tried a couple of times to just blend with it, and you can definitely use it for that, but it's not the best brush for that. Okay, then we go on to the Ao8 brush. Excuse me, I brain farted there for a second. Which looks like this, and I would call this brush a dupe, or now it tries to be a dupe of the MAC 217. It's kind of like a blending brush, but you know, it has that slightly pinched here, and then it becomes fluffier here. This is a really nice brush. I really like to use this brush for application of shadow all over the lid and then blending it into the crease. It works really beautifully for that. You can also just use it to apply things in your crease. It's a really nice blending brush. Speaking of blending brushes, this is the one that I also bought backups of. This is the Spectrum B06. These type of blending brushes are my favorites. This is what passes for the, what is it, the MAC 224 brush, I think, and I have a similar one from Zoeva, which is I think 228, and is my favorite brush from Zoeva. This is a somewhat fluffier blending brush, and when I first got these brushes I was very skeptical that these, especially the blending brushes, are going to work out, because I've never really had a very good experience with synthetic hair blending brushes, but this brush is really nice. It blends shadow really nicely, it's very soft and it just does the work for you. And I think this brush was like £4, £4.99, something of the sort, so it's not incredibly expensive either. Okay, then we move on to the Spectrum Ao8 brush, which is a flat shader. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not my favorite shader brush. It's a little bit awkward, it's a little bit, I don't know, too thick. There is something very awkward about this brush. I do use it and it's okay, but it's not my favorite brush for applying eyeshadow on the lid. It's very soft, you can kind of blend around the edges because it's not too thin, but at the same time I feel like it's a little bit awkward. This is definitely not my favorite brush. Okay, then we have here the A13 brush, which is basically a smaller version of the flat shader, but it's shorter and it basically works for smudging eyeshadow on your lower lash line. So this brush is really nice to apply things in your inner corner, to smudge them on your lower lash line. It works great for that, I like it. This is a good brush. Solid, basic brush. Okay, then moving on to a brush that I never ever use. This is the Spectrum A16. The A16 is a small, flat, synthetic brush, like the type that you would use to, I don't know, apply cream products or maybe spot conceal. I find it a little too small to actually apply things on your eyeballs with this, or if you have like bigger eyeballs, I think it would cost you a lot of time to apply product. Then we have the B04. The B04 is one of those angled blending type of brushes that I'm never really quite sure how exactly I should use. They're a little bit awkward for application for blending things in your crease, I always feel like. This does work very well to like smoke out things on your lower lash line and kind of lift it up here in the outer corner. So this is a nice brush, but it's just one of those brushes that I'm never really quite sure how to use, so I kind of tend to stay clear of it. But it is a really nice brush if you enjoy these types of blending brushes. And the very last brush I'm going to talk about from the eye set, and also the very last brush that I have at this point from Spectrum, is the A12. And the A12 is a pencil type of brush. It's just a small pencil brush, it's really soft. You can use it to apply things in your inner corner, you can use it to smudge or smoke things out on your lower lash line. This brush I really like. Okay, so in conclusion, I would highly recommend trying Spectrum brushes because I think they are beautiful just to look at. They work really well, they are super soft, they don't shed. They've never shed on me, I've never had problems with them shedding. You can clean them really quickly, they are very sturdy, I think they're going to last you a really long time, and they are fairly inexpensive. Now, I would say if you are looking into the sets, obviously those are going to be better value for the price because you're going to get more brushes and everything. However, if you look at the sets, make sure that you're going to use each and every brush in the set, and don't just buy the set because it looks pretty, because if you're not going to use the set, then I would highly recommend just picking up individual brushes from the ones that you're going to actually get use out of. I think I am happy that I got the eye set, but if in hindsight, if I had known the types of brushes and how I would use them, I probably would have picked out the ones that I like the most individually and not pick the whole set, because there are definitely brushes in this eye set that I just don't use. As far as the face brushes go, I think those are lovely. Definitely give them a try. Definitely buy them in a set if you can, because that's going to be cheaper. Okay guys, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Spectrum Collection's brushes. I highly recommend them. I'm very curious, have you ever tried them? Have you ever heard of them? I'm not really sure how popular they are because I feel like I never really hear about them on YouTube, or at least not much. So to wrap up the rambling, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave a link to the website of Spectrum Collection's brushes in the description box below, so if you're curious to check them out, you can do that via that link. And I will see you next time. Bye!